Hello, everyone. My name's Steve Naylor, and I'm a data and digital construction research portfolio lead at the Health and Safety Executive, who's the regulator of health and safety across Great Britain. And I'm part of a data science team we have at the HSE, based at its Science and Research Centre. And I'm pleased to be joined today by Mo Shana from Morta.
Hi, everyone. Really good to be with you today and very good to be with you, Steve.
Okay, so we're here today to launch a digital tool that the HSE have developed called the Construction Risk Library that users can access on the Morta platform. Next slide, please. The plan for this short session that we're doing is for me to provide a brief background to the work that led to the development of the Construction Risk Library. We'll then provide a short demo of the tool on the Morta site, and we'll end the session with an industry call to action and explain our immediate next steps for the work. So the Construction Risk Library project forms part of a larger programme of HSE work called Discovering Safety, which we started back in 2019. Work on the programme is currently supported by a research grant from Lord Register Foundation. And the programme is exploring how modern data and analytic methods can be leveraged to deliver better health and safety outcomes on construction projects. And the HSE have been delivering this work in partnership with a host of different organisations over the last few years, including more recently with Morta and Acana. Now, a key driver behind the Construction Risk Library project is how HSE can support the construction design community in the UK in meeting their legal duties under the Construction Design and Management Regulations through the use of new digital tools. These legal duties are summarised at a high level on this slide here. And in essence, they centre around the need for principal designers to effectively treat foreseeable health and safety risks by making effective project design decisions at the pre-construction stages of their projects. Designers also have a responsibility to document how this is being done and make information available to principal contractors to help them meet their own legal duties under the regulations. And this comes with a host of practical challenges. A key one being making effective design decisions at the pre-construction stages of projects so that foreseeable health and safety risks are eliminated wherever possible. And where this isn't possible, then designers have a responsibility to document relevant information in a project's health and safety file so that clients remain well informed and principal contractors have the information they need to treat risks effectively through the planning and execution of works. Other key challenges, not necessarily regulatory duties under the CDM regulations as such, but key challenges nonetheless, is how designers deliver on all their other key responsibilities linked to successful project delivery more generally. For example, designers have responsibilities for optimizing the scheduling of works on a project, minimizing a project's financial costs, maximizing project value and minimizing wastage, minimizing a project's carbon footprint, maximizing productivity through the use of emerging digital technologies, and helping decide how the asset is to be managed once operational. And they need to do all of these on top of meeting their health and safety legal duties. One of the things we've contributed to as part of work on discovering safety is the development of an ISO standard 19650 Part 6, which is a data standard to support collaborative sharing of health and safety information on construction projects, principally through the use of BIM. Now, the standard was released in January of this year, and a key part of it is a common schema for describing health and safety risk scenarios and risk treatments, which is designed to support the sharing of project health and safety information in a standard format. The data and analytic tools we developed as part of work on the Construction Risk Library are very much aligned to the standard. Another thing we've created as part of work on the Construction Risk Library is a standard classification of construction health and safety risks to help construction projects record and share their health and safety risk information in a standard way. This has been integrated into the NBS Uniclass construction classification, which is obviously widely used across the construction sector in the UK to help manage project and asset information. The work on the Construction Risk Library project extended it, so it now includes project health and safety information. So the idea behind the Construction Risk Library tool is that a design is able to describe different health and safety risk scenarios linked to their design in a standard way using the common schemas that we've developed. The tool then returns suggested risk treatments in the form of short prompts, essentially a list of ways that the risk described might be dealt with, preferably in design and planning, but failing that through how work is carried out in the construction phase. The tool consists of a database of risk treatments, which we're looking to grow as the tool is used. As well as being available on the Mortar platform, it's been designed to be easily plugged into other common project data environments, such as BIM software. We also plan to create a standalone version, which can be used within an app. So to illustrate the tool in action, here's a specific risk scenario characterized. In this example, the risk categories are collapse risk linked to unstable excavated soil. The work activity is the digging of the foundations and service trenches, and the location of the risk is site-wide. Potential risk treatments returned for this risk scenario might be to use a pile foundation design, which would completely eliminate the risk of excavated soil collapsing, or to use a cantilevered ground beam, which would reduce the risk. Or we might look to control the risk by using trench boxes. Other treatment options more likely to be considered at the later stages of design are to ensure that there's adequate space on site for the excavated soil, maybe, or to keep traffic routes at a safe margin from the excavation. And a treatment strategy to consider during site works might be looked to batter the sides of the excavation. Now, the idea behind the tool is that we're trying to encourage designers to consider risk treatment strategies towards the top left of the matrix illustrated in this slide. So effectively to look to eliminate risks as early as possible in the early design stages of projects. We see that there are a number of merits of using the design risk treatment tool to support existing ways of working on projects. For example, it can provide an audit trail for evidencing that legal duties under CDM have been met. It can provide key information for inclusion in an asset's health and safety file. It can support the compilation of a project's design risk register, and it can provide discussion material for design risk or high risk review meetings or digital rehearsals. I'll now provide a short demo of the tool on the Mortar site to see how easy it is to get targeted risk treatments back. Over to you, Mo.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for that, Steve. It's really good to see the logic that has been developed. And the first time that we spoke with yourselves and with the Discovering Safety team about this, I found it really, really exciting because I think there is so much room to make these processes more efficient and to make these processes more resilient. So what we've done is we've built a version of this and what it could look like on the platform. Now, first, what underpins all of this is a database of all of the potential 80 risk scenarios that can exist, and then of a range of treatments that can exist in order to mitigate any of these various scenarios. But what we then did was we said we should take that and try to make that as accessible as possible. And the first thing that we thought of is in a project-based setting, especially when we're in the preliminary design phase, people want to understand the scope of the work that they have. And based on the scope, there are many potential risk scenarios that someone may have to deal with. So first here, you'll see there is in the tool some guidance, and I can navigate through that guidance and I can learn more about an overview of why any of this exists and so on and so forth. But then what I have is a scope for my project. And within my scope, what I can do is I can see that I have the life cycle stage. I can see that I have activities that may apply for my stage, and I can tick through the activities that would apply for the scope of work that I have, and I can pick through one of these 19 activities. I can then do something very similar for my location context. I can pick through what applies to me. So for example, here I'm keeping it at a few of these. And then I can go through and I can see the different products that I may have and that will apply to my my scope again. Once I've ticked these through, what I'll see is a list of applicable scenarios. And if you recall earlier, when we opened up the database, we had 80 risk scenarios. But now that we've ticked through some scope of work, I can now see what I actually have is an applicable list of 11 scenarios that meet that specific scope that I had set. And then off the back of that, what I can do is I can read through these various risk scenarios and these risk categories, and then I can pick out of these which of these apply or which of these don't apply. So in this case, we had picked some. I can unpick these, for example, and then I can work with that. What I can then do from there is I can see the list of all of the applicable treatments that would effectively meet that these specific scenarios that are in place. And then I can go through and I can understand the categories of and the potential treatment categories that would exist to mitigate that. So that's one way that I can explore the tool. The second is I can actually directly go into the database. And when I go directly into the database, what I would then be able to see is all of the possible lists of treatments that may exist for me. And then there, if I know of a specific risk that exists, or if I want to explore, for example, every treatment that could exist for a specific associated location, like a roof level, for example, and all of the treatments that would exist for that, I can then explore this here, and I can then take that. If I want, I can download any of these things. I can export any of this to Excel, for example, and I can then take it from there and I can explore it. Now, if you're someone who's on Morta itself, you can be in your hubs. And if you're on these hubs, all you need to do is go in, and you will see here, if you just make a new hub, you can come in and you can create from a template. And one of the templates that is now available to you is the Discovering Safety risk tool. And you can use this template and you can then use it within these hubs. One other thing that you can do when you're in the Discovering Risk, when you're in the Discovering Safety hub itself, is you can come and ask it questions. So for example, here I can come and say, what is the purpose of the construction risk library? And then off the back of that, I will get answers based on the text that I already have within the hub itself, so that you can interrogate this further and you can understand what's in it. So I hope you found this useful. I hope you like the tool. What we're really looking for is fundamentally feedback on how we can make this better and how we can make it more useful. We want to understand how we can make it more useful for the wider industry at large, regardless of whether someone is on Morta or not. But we also want to work with our own community and the people who are using Morta to understand how this can be better baked into their processes. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Steve again.
That's great. Thanks, Mo, for that. If you could just move to the call to action slide, which I think is the second to last slide. So as Mo said, the tool at the moment consists of 162 different risk scenarios and nearly 2,000 different treatment prompts. However, as Mo said, we're really keen for users to add new scenarios and treatments through their own use of the tool, which we'd like to then formally integrate and make available in future versions that we can then release. And we're also keen for users to share feedback on their user experiences in using the tool and potentially suggest ways in which it could be improved, maybe new functionality that could be added to increase its utility. So I'll end my presentation there. If you'd like more information on the Construction Risk Library project, to feedback your user experiences, or would like to keep up to date with how the tool develops over the next few months, please reach out through the email address on the slide here, and you can also follow us on LinkedIn through the link that's on the slide. So many thanks for listening today, and we look forward to hearing from you.
So thanks a lot for Steve, and thanks a lot everyone for hearing us, and we hope to get your feedback and we hope you find it useful. Have a really good day.